How many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight, still toying with the voice, trying to recover from the
but every day, Bill,
crud.
Every day you get a little bit better, get back to being your old self. How do you feel? Do you feel all right?
I'm feeling better, but older.
Yes. Well, I'd like to say there's a cure for that, but not really. Hey, by the way, before we go any further, a little sad news. One of my favorite actors, a guy who I really enjoyed, Gene Hackman, passed away yesterday at 95 years of age. Kind of a strange, they did a welfare check. He lived in New Mexico, and he was found dead with his much younger wife. She was, what, in her 60s, Bill?
She was 64, and he was 95, and their dog. And it sounds strange. They're saying right now there's no indication of foul play, so it could be anything.
Yeah.
But apparently nobody heard from him, so they went out and did this wellness check.
When I heard that, one of the first things I thought was, we've had some strange weather. He lived in New Mexico, and it's probably it's warmer. Probably maybe he didn't need to turn his heat on. I'm thinking, did he turn his heat on, and was it a carbon monoxide situation? When you lose everybody in the house like that, and the dog too, it makes you wonder. So, but
it does get cold at night. People don't think about this, but you're talking about the desert, New Mexico, Arizona, like that. In the desert, it gets cold at night. Even in the blistering heat of the summer, cold is what you can expect at night, and that's what they get. So,
I'll never forget. I liked him as Popeye Doyle. I liked him. Heck, I liked him. We were talking before the show. One of my favorite parts was when he played the captain of that submarine on Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I loved it. I think he was a kind gentleman, but he knew how to play these gruff bad guys, and he did.
Well, what did you tell me about how when his career started? How was his response initially?
Oh, well, back it up. I mean, he started out, he went into the Marines. He did radio in the Marines. He came out and did journalism, then decided to go to a playhouse, take up acting, and they said, Gene, you suck. You're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And right out of the box, I mean, you're talking about Bonnie and Clyde, and he got awards there.
Yeah, and Popeye Doyle and French Connection. Yep.
French Connection. He made... he got an Oscar or an Academy there. So either way, he's done a lot of great movies.
He was up for a big part in The Graduate, and he didn't get it.
Yeah.
And that gave him more determination. He was a good actor. His library of work is going to be enjoyed by millions for decades to come, I'm sure, because he was that kind of lawyer. If you wonder what the lasting effect is to some of these celebrities, I point to people like John Wayne, Cary Grant, Clark Gable. To this day, there are generations of people who discover their work and are new fans. That's the kind of thing that's the power of the motion picture. They're long gone, they're deceased. But yet they're still finding new fans because their performances were so great. So,
it's too early to say, the cause. You could speculate, but they're saying so far no word of foul play. And let's face it, he was 95, they were 64. I guess he was previously married, but they found love with one another and they were happy. And maybe there was an ailment that either she or he had that's, there was no turning point. So maybe it was a case of euthanasia and, the dog, too. They're just going, if they did that, who would take care of the dog? So it could have been that. But that's
everything is speculation at this point. But all they are saying there's no foul play. So, but, God bless them. May they both rest in peace. May the little dog rest in peace, too. And thank you for the great performances you've left us. You entertained us all throughout my life. So,
Well, the one thing you do know about Gene right now, now that he's gone to the other side. He has all the answers in life that we don't have.
yeah, well, I'm not in a rush to get him right now, but
No, neither am I.
yeah.
I want to. He was 95. That would that age would give both you and I a long lifespan, and in our significant partners. And you know what? Well, that's what I want to do too.
Hey, there are other celebrities I think today who are sweating bullets. They are, well, here's the reason why.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
And that co-defendant, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell. And she's already in jail. But that's going to happen. That was recorded last night. We're talking about, I think she said noon today. So,
all right, let me ask you a question, because I think this is something that the Democrats are really, really worried about. Your honest opinion, based on what you know, because we see the news that is not being reported. All right, so how is Trump doing? The latest polls, how is he doing?
Excellent. Seriously, right. He's in the 50s, 53%. Yeah.
53 to 58%. So his overall approval rating's up. He's got a lot of things out there that he's doing. So far, what have they accomplished with Doge and everything? They've saved.
Oh, they found. I think that they found billions. They say as high maybe as $1 trillion so far.
Yeah, actually, I've heard it's over $1 trillion. So they've got, and the potential is big, big, big. And some of the things that they're doing right now that I saw an interview on will sit there and pay down, if not pay off the debt. And we're talking about the tariffs of what they do and everything else. So now that we've said that and laid out the foundation, you've got the Democratic Party. They've always got a new narrative all the time. And now, despite Joe Biden and him being just, downright rotten, they're saying the worst president ever in history, Donald Trump. The Democrats are sowing the seeds of dissent. They're sitting there.
That's all they got, Bill. That's all they got.
They're sitting there just saying that Trump hasn't done anything. Everything is all negative. They're saying his poll numbers are down to 40%. Well, wait a minute. If you're saying that today, but yesterday I heard 58%. What are you talking about?
Well, no. They'll find one thing about politics. You can find a poll for whatever you want, at whatever level you want, if you have the right amount of money and the right people take it.
And it could be a fake poll. Now, the fact is, they're saying that in Carville's and the Republican Party is crumbling. It's going to be gone in 30 days, and Trump with it. But the fact is, the donations, the money supply, the spigot is off for the Democrats. And that party is absolutely,
they have nothing,
positively crumbling. The ground is crumbling beneath them. They're sinking.
The word, Bill, is desperation right now.
They're casting their negative on the Republicans in hopes that they can grab onto something. The Epstein files could be the nail in the coffin. It's
interesting. That's a very good point. I think that I was thinking, though, they are so. They can be hit with a truck and they'll get up and say it was nothing. Don't worry about it. I mean, I'm talking about the Democrats. Let's say the files come out, and let's say hypothetically, you find that former presidents are on the flight logs. You find that celebrities that you have trusted are on the flight logs. We already know Bill Gates was on the plane. So I mean, all of a sudden, do you think that how will they spin it? I guess is what I'm saying. They're going to say, well, just because we were on the flight doesn't mean that we did anything wrong. Just because we went down and played golf on his island doesn't mean that we participated in anything that was illegal or immoral.
Well, they could say that they were rooting out the evil, and sometimes you got to wallow with the pigs to find out the bad ones. That they'll make up a story.
Oh yeah, they have to. But it's going to be a very interesting day. That was recorded last night. So when she said tomorrow, she means today at noon Eastern. So,
but you know what? I'm not going to hold my breath because again, there are people that are innocent people that need to be protected, and no matter how hard you try to protect them, unfortunately, to unravel this hornet's nest, some people are going to get stung, guilty and innocent. And that's just, you want to do your best to protect the innocent. But
my question is, are we going to see any of these people? Now, I have to tell you, last night on Laura Ingram's show, she did a segment on Guantanamo.
Right.
She took a camera crew down there and walked around Guantanamo, showing the cells and talking to Pete Hegseth, who escorted her throughout the, not all of the base, because where the dangerous guys are, she wasn't allowed to go back there, but where it was an interim stop for like illegals between the U.S. mainland and their home country that they're sending them back to, they would bring them there and they would be processed and then sent home. They were shown those cells, and they're very basic. They are basically comfortable, but they're not anything you want to spend any time in.
Right.
But, I thought to myself, why all of a sudden are we seeing access to Guantanamo? Why all of a sudden are we being shown, the camera crews are down there showing these, people like Laura Ingraham and the world what they have? I think what they're doing is they're setting the world up. Guantanamo has this mysterious stigma about it. I don't know whether you remember this or not, but during the 2020 elections, after the elections were over, there was a lot of talk about people being arrested and sent to Guantanamo. And the story was that there were cargo ships with containers, and the containers were actually cells, and they were docked at Guantanamo Bay. And the inference was that they were being used to house terrorists. These cargo ships. That was never mentioned last night. That was never pointed to last night. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, but they said that they were looking to put about 30,000 people there. I'm thinking, is that where the Epstein people are going to end up? Are they going to end up in Guantanamo? It just seems
30,000. Are there 30,000 guilty people?
No. There are a lot of other guilty politicians. Bill, I mean, we could do the whole show on speculation of, who could go to jail. Because I before the show started, I was reading a story about a guy who apparently they arrested a guy who was involved. He was a former ICE member who became like a Biden partisan, and he was supposedly in control of a facility that was getting $18 million. It looked like it was a holding camp, $18 million a month, and there was nobody in it. There was nobody using the facility, yet he still was taking in. This is toward the end of the Biden administration. They were sending $18 million to this empty site, this non-active site, and Doge found it, and Doge said, "Hey, we're stopping it now." So they stopped that leak of our money. You have to ask yourself, how many other places are there out there like that, where they were shipping millions of our dollars to these dummy sites, and you know, the $18 million, if it was sent to that site, it was probably being dispersed again. A large, if not all of it, a large chunk of it was probably being sent to other politicians. You know, they don't send money directly to each other. They send it to places like this. It's like when we talked about money going to the Ukraine. We speculated that it was a big circle, you know, that sent billions of dollars over to the Ukraine, and then hundreds of millions of dollars would work its way back into the pockets and the bank accounts of American politicians.
Right, the cryptocurrency and everything
Yes.
that was going on.
So
yeah.
this little thing I was just talking about, the $18 million money hole. How many of them are out there? You know, and this guy was a former ICE guy, and he was a member of the Biden administration. So, boy, you know, Bill, they're going to find an amazing amount of corruption, I think, in this, not just this administration, but in Obama's administration.
Well, you know, he's kind of quiet these days. Hillary's quiet. And, you know, talk about the head of a snake. There she is.
Boy, she's going to have if she's on the list.
Well, Bill is.
Yeah,
Bill
I
is,
know. Oh, I know.
Because hanging in Epstein's house was a painting or a
The
picture,
blue dress?
I think it was, yeah, in a blue dress with his, his legs crossed. I'm going,
oh man. And there's another picture, I don't know if you've seen that, where he's sitting in a chair supposedly at Epstein Island getting a back rub.
Yeah. Well, that was a true story because he tried to downplay it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, this, where there's smoke, there's fire, and today is going to be a busy day, news-wise. Believe me, if this list comes out and a lot of famous people are on it, man.
My question would be, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. All right, so, and there's a chance that things might have a way of leaking out. So I might be inclined to invite my media friends too to the party, so they're in on it too. So how many guilty media people would be there? And when this comes out, it's not only going to take down politicians and actors, but it takes down the media. And is the media, if their name is all over it, their fingerprints are everywhere.
That's an interesting point, Bill. You're talking about not just the celebrities, but the reporters could be involved too. I mean, it's a whole group of different types of people who are involved. Well, and my other question is this: if we know about Epstein and his problems, will it lead to other situations and other cells of this type of activity going on in the country? Meaning, we know about Epstein Island and it being a destination for pedophiles, essentially. Are we going to learn because of this of other locations in different areas, maybe on the mainland, where they also got together to do this kind of activity?
Well, let's just say, there was an Epstein, all right? Could there be a Shinzu or could there be other Epstein-like people, like you say, in islands or places that this happens?
Yep. Well, we're going to find out. This is going to open a door. By the way, we also, is there a connection between Sean Combs and Epstein? I'm just saying. Sean Combs was involved apparently in the same types of activity, did the same types of thing as Jeffrey Epstein. Was it a club of some kind that we don't know about, that we're just maybe scratching the surface here?
Yeah, like a kill club. It could be something. Yeah, the hunt's afoot, but they were hunting something else, and the targets didn't have far where they could run away. They were just there.
Wow. Well, it should be an interesting day. We're going to have a flight. The flight list doesn't necessarily prove guilt, but if you were flying to Epstein Island, you're going to have a lot of questions to answer.
But what does prove guilt is if there is video evidence
And
or
victims.
photographs
Yeah.
of you with somebody. Now, I understand AI could do stuff, but a lot of this stuff was before the
What you just
AI.
said, they already know that Epstein had video cameras all throughout his place.
Mhm.
So they probably have all types of video evidence. So
And backed up. I would hope they have it backed up, because the first thing, if I were a nefarious person, I'm going, hell, I'm on that. Okay, we're going to get that video and destroy it.
yeah.
We'll do whatever we can to destroy it. But if there's backups of it,
Well, nowadays nothing is a final destination. When you record something, if somebody records you and it's on a device of some kind, you think, okay, I got the SIM card, so I got the evidence. No. Nowadays, much of everything is backed up on a cloud somewhere. So you think you got it all, and you haven't got it all.
back in what was it, in the mid '80s, when they were talking about CDs and stuff like that, there was a guy in the record industry that said, we've got chips now the size of your little pinky fingernail that could contain the entire Beatles library. Well, that was true then, but now they got chips that are not even the size of your little pinky fingernail that can take the entire MGM, Paramount, and every other movie industry film libraries and have it on there. So Epstein, whatever he had.
Let's take this moment to talk about another tech thing that's going on. Big story in the world. It comes out of England. Apparently, the government has authorized, not authorized, it has instructed Apple to open up a back door on its cell phones, I guess, on the software, so that they can be accessed by the government. Do I have that right? I think so.
Yeah, that's the story. And Tulsi wants that exposed because that infringes on your right to privacy, your freedom. But, when I saw the story, I said, well, that's true. But we've already pierced that one, because, the left sometimes gives things away unintentionally. I was watching the dumbest movie in the world, not going to go into it. But one of the things that they did, they said they tracked somebody. And I said, oh, well, they tracked him by their phone, which they did. But the phone had a dead battery. As a matter of fact, the phone, the battery was taken out of. It was supposedly destroyed. But apparently, and I said, no, that can't be true. Can't be true. So I did a little Google research and everything else. And then I found out, there's a chip inside every phone that has basically capacitors. Any engineer knows capacitors stores power. Yeah. And they conserve it, infinitely until it's used up. But apparently there's a little small
microchip
little pack in there that is in a phone that sits there. You can turn that phone off. The battery can go dead, but that little thing is powered enough to where within a certain radius, they can track that phone. Now, that phone is always letting itself be known where it is to whatever the area cell tower is, and that cell tower connects to another one and another one. They can track a phone.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, Bill, because the more you learn about things that the government can do that we have no knowledge of, the more you realize that in many areas they're light years ahead of us with technology. Government, I'm talking about.
They want to know where you are, what you're doing, and what you're thinking. So,
how many times have we talked about this? You turn off, at the end of the day, you turn off all of your computers, you power down, and everything is off, and you think, okay, everything's shut down, I'm in privacy. No. Mm-mm. They can access your computer, and they do this many times. Like, you may come back to your computer and say, oh, my computer updated overnight. Well, how did it update? I powered down. Because they have the ability on the other end to turn your computer back on and do what they want to do and then power down.
Right.
So,
and it used to be you could turn cookies off. Now you can't turn them off. It'll say, do you accept these cookies? And if you don't, they're tracking cookies that also drop in whatever it is they want to drop in on your updates or whatever it is. If you don't accept them, you don't get to use even what it is that you paid for until you say, I'm going to take those cookies.
Well,
before they had to have your permission. And
when you
they couldn't
deactivate a
stop you.
cookie, Bill, you have a little switch, supposedly, that you move to the left and you think, okay, I've powered that off. I've turned that off.
No,
but there's
it
no
still works.
guarantee. That could be a pacifier switch, meaning that it's a dummy switch. You know, you
When you're the dummy.
think you're turning it off by moving that little switch to the left. And, oh, it's not tracking me anymore. No, it's just there to make you feel better. You know.
Mhm.
No, and you know, Bill, you can't get around it. You can't get away from it. I mean, think about this. If you go into New York, they have cameras on every street corner, on buildings. You know, when you watch the FBI on TV, the TV series, and you say, "Well, can you have cameras there?" Yeah, I got them up now. You have to be concerned because it's drama, it's fiction for the most, but the technology is real. They can access if you have a blink in your house. You know, you think, well, my blink isn't connected. It's just in my house, and I don't have a. No. It's connected by a wireless, right? And as long as there's a radio signal out there, they can connect to anything. They can. Many times you'll see, my goodness, I saw that prowler. How they get video of that prowler? Well, they can access the cameras, the security cameras. Nothing is private anymore. And by the way, they make us buy those security. We buy the cameras thinking we're doing it for security, and we're buying it. We're buying a certain level of insecurity by having these things. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, if you're connected to any kind of network, now I know people that have become successful. And, you know, the one thing that I like about Facebook, I can keep up with old colleagues and whatnot. And just, even if we don't talk, I can sit there, hey, yeah, they're doing well. Nice to know they're okay. And that's it. But I've had friends that have turned themselves off the grid. They're doing well, and they're the smart ones because they're going, I have my life. It's going well. I'm turning myself off of this and deleting this. And, you know, you can't even find their phone number in a directory if you want to say, hey, happy birthday. They're just saying.
Well, you know what's really strange about that, Bill? When people do that, I was just watching a story about this. Nowadays, it is such a part of our lives, having a cell phone in our hands or having a computer nearby, that when they take themselves off the grid, like you just said, they go through a physical withdrawal. Some people, it is such a compulsion, and you can see it everywhere. How many times have you gone out to a restaurant and people are sitting across from each other and they're looking at phones? I mean, this is it's almost manic. So if you could imagine that all of a sudden we didn't have those phones anymore, and by the way, I spent much of my life without having those damn things in my life. I mean, they're great in a lot of ways. Emergencies, things like that, calling home, staying connected with family, things like FaceTime. When you have family living at a distance, you can talk to them on FaceTime and you feel like you're there with them. Those are all wonderful things, but they become an extension of your physical self. And when all of a sudden you don't have it anymore, you go through withdrawal.
You know what? I used to have a landline. Now, you can't carry a landline.
What the hell
with
is
you.
that, Bill?
You know what it is.
I know what a landline is.
Yeah, but, you know, I had a landline. And, well, you know, but that's how we lived. And if you weren't around the house, you weren't there for the phone call.
Yeah.
Well, I was never around the house. But you know what? I had the convenience of an answering machine. And I could call my number and hit the code and hear who called me and erase everything and call them back from wherever I was. I'm in Dallas and I'm calling home to Memphis. And I'm going, you know.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Radios.
I used to think,
you know.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And you know, I mean, within the day's time, I was in touch with everybody that I needed to be in touch with.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a phone going off in my pant pocket when I'm on a flight or anything like that. Or I wasn't sitting there, you know, somebody's trying to talk to me and I'm just sitting there looking at, oh, that's interesting. Oh, you know, because everything on your phone, just like the computer, clickbait to entertain you so they can drop in advertisements on you.
Yep.
That's all it is.
We were talking before the show. I said, well, you know, if I didn't have a landline, I could use a payphone. And I thought, wait a second. Where have I seen a payphone recently? I mean, I went to, I used to go to Grand Central every day to work in New York, and there was a bank of payphones that people would use to call their family or friends because they didn't have cell phones when I was working in New York. And I was thinking, I don't think they have those anymore. Maybe they have one or two.
No, they don't.
They used to have them on street corners. Every street corner in a town had a little payphone.
You know, it used to be when payphones were big, and I knew that there was something up when they said, you can own your own payphone and make a lot of money. And I thought, why would they sell away their point of revenue unless they're going to get rid of it? Because at the time cell phones first came out, you had to have a big credit score, and, and it was a big, bag phone. I know I had one of those at one time. And they weren't easy to get unless you had good credit, decent money, and then you could get it. And I said, yeah, they're getting ready to do something. Then the big brick phone came out. And
if we ever get into a situation where we have like an EMP go off and we have no more power, the country's going to be, for a period of time, people are going to be lost not being able to communicate like they do now. And that'll happen. All you have to do is lose your power grid, folks, and you're done as far as cell phones go. You'll be back to using CB radios if you can get one to work.
Actually, they might do okay, but put them in a Faraday cage, and that's a different show. It's easy to do, but either way.
Hey, so the other things that happened, big stories. Yesterday was the first cabinet meeting at the White House. It's amazing to see them have this. It's a big event. The table is huge. It's an oval table in a fairly decent-sized room, but it's just jammed in with people. There's the cabinet members seated at the table. Behind them are the aides and assistants, deputies and stuff like that. And then you have the press, and they're all crowded in there with their equipment trying to get questions. It was a bit of a circus, but it didn't disappoint. Trump stuff never disappoints. He always has a story. And during the cabinet meeting, he took a moment yesterday to introduce Elon Musk, and what he had to say was interesting. Listen.
So I'm going to ask if it's possible to have Elon get up first and talk about Doge, because it seems to be of great interest to everyone. I will say that there is a large group of people in this country that have such admiration for what we're doing. I got elected with a tremendous vote, winning every swing state, winning the popular vote, winning the counties by thousands of counties. I think it was 2,800 to 500. 2,800 counties to 500 counties. Think of that. And so we have a mandate to do this, and this is part of the reason I got elected. I got elected based on taxes and based on many things in the border, but also based on balancing budgets and getting our country back into shape. And this is a big part of it. So, Elon, if you could get up and explain where you are, how you're doing, and how much we're cutting. And it's an honor to have you. He's been a tremendously successful guy. He's really working so hard, and he's got businesses to run. And in many ways, they say, how do you do this? And, he's sacrificing a lot. And getting a lot of praise, I'll tell you, but he's also getting hit, and we would expect that, and that's the way it works. So I'd like to have Elon Musk please say a few words.
Okay.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here, because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the Doge team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing; it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. and taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I'm going to like stack them up, you know. But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. And I'm confident at this point, knock on wood, you know, knock on my wooden head, it's got a lot of wood up there, that we can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. And obviously that can only be done with the support of everyone in this room. And I'd like to thank everyone for your support. Thank you very much. This can only be done with your support. So it's really, DOGE is a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings and to effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. So people say, like, well, is this real? Just go to doge.gov. We line item by line item, we specify each item. So, and I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it.
Wow. Well, you know, what's interesting is he said we were on the verge of bankruptcy. If we don't do what we're doing now,
Right.
there's no off-ramp. We're gonna go out of business as a country.
You know, to put this in democratic terms, he said we got to save $4 billion a day. All right? I heard a Democrat sitting there poo-pooing, you know, Doge and everything and saying, you know, you're talking $64 billion. You know, that's a drop in the bucket. Well, then I guess $4 billion a day is nothing. So why are you fighting it?
Well, they're going to fight it no matter what. I mean, by the way, they don't even know what they're fighting, a lot of the Democrats. And we mentioned this before, Bill. A lot of their rallies, the cameras are tight on the principals, meaning if a bunch of representatives go out and have a rally in front of the Commerce Building or the Treasury Building or something like that, the media would lead you to believe that there's a large crowd there. But if you pull back to a wide shot,
There's nobody.
there's nobody there, folks. It's
You know-
an empty space.
A lot of people, and I don't mean this negatively towards you, but a lot of people that are sitting there with a big voice in their left and they're going, when the Democratic Party goes, the worst president ever, they go along with the narrative. And the next week, the narrative changes. And a lot of these narratives have been repeated, you know, election after election. They use it on everybody because they're sheep. They're not individuals. Individuals think for themselves.
Well, I have a lot of friends, not a lot of friends, but I have many friends who are liberal, and they just
They walk
don't like
lockstep.
they just don't like Trump, and they don't even know why. I swear to God, if you sat them
Because
down,
they were
let's-
told not to like him.
well, yeah, to a certain, yeah, they were told that and they followed dutifully, and it's a shame because they're missing out on the fun ride we're on right now. We're seeing our country turn around. I have another thing I want to talk about, but I want to take 1 second before we get too far into the show to
I know
remind
where you're
people
going.
we have a great coffee that we sell here on our program. It's called Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's a medium blend and a medium decaf blend coffee. It's delicious. You'll love it. You got to give it a try. All you have to do is go to rightsideshop.com. rightsideshop.com. You'll also find our other brand of coffee, which is Mappa. You say, what's Mappa? Make America Percolate Again. It's another coffee blend, and these two blends can only be found at rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. As a matter of fact, my friend Bill has had laryngitis. I have had a stuffy head for a few days, but thanks to Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, we're on the road to health again. I'm not saying.
Hey, you know what? This started on Tuesday. It's Thursday.
Listen. He sounds like a whole different guy. It's because he drinks his daily dose of Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee.
Well, I got to tell you.
4 out of 5 doctors recommend Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. You know that.
Yeah, and that other one, he's just a libtard anyway. So, don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But no, you know what I actually do? I get up in the morning, I do my Right Side Coffee. First thing I do when I get up, besides going to the computer, I'll go turn it on.
Uh-huh.
And then I go and brew a fresh pot of Right Side Coffee. And then when it's ready, I pour myself a cup. Then I sit down with pen and notepad and, computer mouse, and I start going through.
It's a perfect way to start your day. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. You got to try it. I mean, don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee at rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. By the way, Jim and Bill, us, we're not becoming incredibly wealthy with the profits on the coffee because we have to share it with a bunch of people who put it all together for us. But every little bit does help because it helps to promote the show. You don't see us putting a Patreon button on our website or anything like that because we think more of you. We think that if we're asking for some funds, you should be getting something in return. So, and this is a great coffee. You're going to love it. Plus, we have brought in internationally renowned performers Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers. Now, mind you, this group, right, before they did our show, they were singing at the Via Condios Cafe in Tijuana, weren't they?
I've been there before. I didn't make it out the door. Well, never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, but we had to drag them across the border. No, actually, really, they came across on a flotation device. But they're here. They're here every day to sing our jingle, and it's the high point of their day. After that, they go back over and they nurse their tequila in the corner. It's amazing. It's kind of sad, but they're here to sing right now, guys.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
So wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee. Anyway, my friend, I was going to talk about another thing. Speaking of immigration, we were talking about immigration during that commercial in case you missed it.
There you go.
Apparently, one of the things they're toying with, the government, is a gold card way to become a citizen. And I was listening to a morning show this morning, and the guy, he didn't like the idea. And the guy's a staunch Trump fan and conservative. But I on this one, I disagree with him. I think it's actually a good idea. It doesn't exclude green cards. I don't want you to think they're taking the green card approach for the average person away.
No.
But it's an incentive to get the very wealthy and successful in the world to come into our country and invest in our country. I think it costs $5 million to get a gold card. This is the proposal. And the guy who was didn't like it was saying, well, we're selling citizenship. No. We've given tens of millions of immigrants who were poor and destitute a start in this country. What we're saying now is, hey, if you're in another country and you are phenomenally wealthy and successful, this country is for you too, and you can get here a little quicker because you've already shown yourself to be an achiever, and we need achievers in this country.
Yeah, you do well there, you can do even more well here.
Yep.
Now, the green card, you're talking, well, that's going to do it with that. No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, firsthand, I know, where I'm up north visiting, I'm getting ready to go back to where going back to the hole I crawled out of. But either way,
yes.
Some people that were looking for some properties up here, they're here on a work visa, and they're not citizens.
Right.
But that they were going, we want a new place. Well, this expires, are you going to are you renewing it? Or, well, we don't know. Well, then I guess we don't know if you're going to get this place. But either way,
they were actually looking to buy a house or rent a house.
Rent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. And because, they're on the green card. It's a work visa.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of people here. There are a lot of paths to get in here. They don't go away. But what we're doing is he's opening up the door for if you get, that could wipe out a lot of debt in and of itself
Well, they said,
by these rich people.
They said
elsewhere.
$1 trillion a year is their goal with the gold card. And by the way, important point about the gold card is every penny of the profit from that program will be going to pay down the debt. No other reason for the gold card. It's there to pay down our debt. And the thing is, getting back to this again, Bill, without some kind of major intervention, which is what we're going through right now, we're going to go out of business as a country. And when I say the thing, people say, well, how can we go out of business? We own the printing presses. No, trust me, we can go out of business as a country.
We may be out of business. Well, let's say we go to Fort Knox. And the 5.8 metric tons of gold is not there.
Yeah, if then then all bets are off. If there's no gold in our bank, boy, you got to find out. First of all, here's what you'll know: if there's no gold in that bank, you'll know that we were held up, that it was a robbery. You may say, well, maybe it was intentional on the part of the government. No matter who did it or when they did it, if they took our gold away for whatever purpose, and didn't replace it, then it was a robbery.
The biggest heist in life.
Because we've been led to believe as a country that our financial foundation, is there. That's the point. And if the foundation is gone, then we've been lied to. So I have a feeling when they go there, they're going to find that they have vaults and vaults of gold. I think, like a lot of people, they don't want you to see it or know where it's at. They're very, very
everybody knows Fort Knox. It's been the fable of a lot of movies, James Bond movies.
How many times did your parents say to you, "What do you think I am, Fort Knox?" I mean,
yeah. So we all know where it is. I mean, you think one of the places Russia might hit with a nuclear bomb if we went to war? And it's not Russia you got to worry about. It's China right now. And somebody, I think it was you, saying, well, they're in dire straits. They're not going to go to war.
They are.
That's the time you go to war. That is the time you sit there and say, you know what? We got pressed cheeks against the wall. So we are going to sit there and, spit at thee in the face of all that doom.
We have a situation now where China is in dire economic straits. You may say, what do you mean? They everything we get is from China. Well, don't let that kid you. Just because you're seeing stuff come in back and forth, they are financially way above them. They've spent billions and billions of dollars on their armies. And I was just reading where they built this brand new underground command center.
The biggest ever. Anywhere. It's
like $1 trillion. It's just unbelievably expensive. I do think that they're putting a lot of their hopes in, their military hopes into this one center. I would think that we probably have stuff that can penetrate that. I could be wrong.
Well, it's where their brain trust is going to be. The military might still has to be on surface or be where we can hit it, because they can't do it from underground and think us gone.
Yeah.
They're going to have to physically make us gone. What's happened to them is they have a whole seacoast of factories that were making all the things that we buy.
Sure.
From the little widgets to the big electronic components, everything coming over Alibaba, the whole 9 yards. During the Trump first administration, he was luring those businesses back.
Right.
Apple was one of the last ones, but they said that they would do it, and they have come back full force. And these buildings are shutting down, going empty, and China's worried about that. And probably here in the next few months, they're going to have no output.
No one's talking about this, but for example, Warner Brothers, which I think has a big Chinese investment involved. Well, most of Hollywood is owned by China right now in some form or another. But Warner Brothers is shutting down a lot of their animation sites that they have. I think there are 3 major sites that they're closing where they were putting a lot of money into them. They have Hollywood has become a one-note samba as far as entertainment goes. Everything is a superhero. You're always being attacked by some guy with an initial on his chest, and he's doing something amazing. But the story, you can only tell the same story so many times. A variation thereof. It's like, all right, I've seen this before. Every superhero story out there is fundamentally the same story. And Hollywood is running into that right now, and they have forgotten how to be creators of great stuff. I mean, they got all the tools. They got. I said to my wife, we were watching something on television. I said, "See that image? See that video right there? That guy doing all that stuff on television. 95% of what you see there is being generated by a computer, and the star is standing in front of a green screen." And that's basically Hollywood these days. The days of great stories, intimate stories, stories that'll last forever. They're not giving them to us right now. They're giving us the same old crap, and they're wondering why now maybe people are getting sick of it. But by the way, we're getting back to China. China is a big problem. They control a lot of Hollywood, and they like this kind of stuff. They've liked these superhero programs in China. So they've kind of forced Hollywood to go in that direction, and there's a lot of money involved. Well, now China's running out of that investment money, and I think Hollywood's going to start to feel it already. Like I said, Warner Brothers closing down animation studios. That's a sign of...
Well, you know what? They don't have to put out a movie a week. They can put out a couple of great movies every so many months. It has more time to seed and grow and really build something lasting and profitable. If you put out a turkey, it's turkey. But a lot of turkeys don't equal.
Another thing, Bill, I don't know how the movie theater business stays in business anymore, because and they're still trying to keep it alive. They're still trying to keep movie theaters alive. But when I can go back to my house and sit in front of my big screen TV set, which and I can pause it to go to the bathroom or whatever, and come back and start it where I left off, and I can see first run movies on television. Why would I want to go sit in a dark room with a bunch of strangers who are coughing around me and stuff? We just went through a pandemic.
And they got another one supposedly on the horizon, or it's already here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a business which is I wouldn't invest in movie theaters right now. That's just me. Also, during this cabinet meeting yesterday, President Trump was talking about the Afghan war and the disastrous way it ended. And sitting right to his left was Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. Listen.
Mr. President, we're just talking about Afghanistan and the bots withdrawal. Have all the generals or command staff that were involved with the withdrawal fired or relieved of duty?
Well, that's a great idea. I'm not going to tell this man what to do, but I will say that if I had his place, I'd fire every single one of them, Pete. That's a very good question.
Well, it's a question we've thought a lot about. We're doing a complete review of every single aspect of what happened with the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan, and plan to have full accountability. It's one of the first things we announced at the Defense Department for that reason, sir. Certainly, General Raisin Kane, who's on his way in, was not a part of that. Instead, was a part of leading the effort against ISIS by untying the hands of warfighters and finishing the job properly, and then bringing our troops home. So we're taking a very different view, obviously, than the previous administration, and there will be full accountability.
I don't see big promotions in that group.
Trump said, I don't see big promotions. I think that if you were involved with that Afghan war, you might want to put your retirement papers in ASAP, because you're going to be toast.
Might want to polish up your resume, too, and really find the things that you shine at, which are not many.
That's true. Everything I think of with that Afghan war, besides the tragedy of Abbey-gate, which was the 13 soldiers being killed, and they never talk about the tens of other service people who were severely injured during that explosion, that attack on that gate. But the image that I just can't get out of my head about Afghan war is that that big was it C-5 or one of the big planes, and having all those people trying to get into the plane, hanging onto the wheels, hanging onto climbing up the stairwell to get onto the wings. And do you know what they don't tell you about that is that a lot of those people died. Some of the people hung on. Some of the people actually hung on during takeoff. And they got up about 400 or 500 feet in the air, and they couldn't hang on any longer.
And they're gone.
They were blown off. And there is this video of those people falling to earth. Some of the people, this is, I know this is gross. You never see this, or no one talks about this. Some of those people were run over by the airplane because they were instructed to take off, because there were a lot of people inside that plane. And so when they got that plane, when it landed in its final destination, they found people, the bodies of people in the wheel well.
Cowling, yeah.
That was a despicable, that was a cowardly way for our country to leave Afghanistan, and it truly should be investigated. And
who ordered that?
Pardon?
Who ordered that?
Biden. Well, no. Biden couldn't order lunch. Okay, I think it came from other powers in Washington. Maybe even former presidents.
Well, we need to pinpoint them, and Biden's a part of it too. And a general to carry out an order. Yeah, I understand. He reports to the commander in chief. But there are some orders that you might have to sit there and say, "I beg your pardon." What?
Well, look at one of the guys who was responsible was Mark Milley. He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That doofus who was well. Anyway, I could go on and on, but he's such a guilty guy that Biden gave him a pardon as he was leaving government. He wasn't even accused of anything, but he was pardoned anyway. So
yeah, I don't even know that the pardon really, holds any water anyway. But either way, that's all.
There's some people who say that Trump could bring him back into the military, give him his rank, demote him, and then court-martial him. And he probably could be court-martialed for a lot of other reasons. I don't think he was pardoned, by the way, by what he did at the Afghan war. Who knows? There's probably some great legal minds in Washington right now who are working on that as we speak. But it's going to be now we're starting to see, we got the players in place in the cabinet. You saw them yesterday. The key players. There are other cabinet members who are still going through the confirmation process, but they're in lesser positions. But the players, the Marco Rubios, the Pete Hegseths, even the position that Elon Musk has as a government contractor, essentially, they are in place. And now you're going to start to see the hammer fall. You're going to see some of it this afternoon at 12 noon.
Now, I was told that the Doge, now Doge has actually been around, but I was under the impression, which I thought that's not going to work, it's got to be longer, is that they had like a 30 or 60-day time frame to get things done, and then that appointment is over. But I guess it can be extended too, because I see a lot of work.
They had a different name for it back then. And what's interesting is that supposedly there was a woman who is, I guess it's Elon Musk's right-hand person. Understand something, folks. Elon Musk isn't sitting in a computer by himself doing this. He's got some of the greatest minds and the greatest people that he could find who are working with him. So everybody's kind of reporting to him. He's not sitting around plotting this thing. There's a whole cadre of people out there who are putting Doge together, and they'll be there when Elon leaves. By the way, I don't think Doge is going to leave. They may put another person in charge. I think I had who it was. I cannot find it, but it was somebody who it's a young woman, a very intelligent young woman who was supposedly Elon Musk's aide de camp, as they would say, a right-hand person. I think it's long overdue. The left will go nuts at every single move that they make, because what they're doing is they're peeling back the Band-Aid. They're opening the curtain. All of a sudden, we're seeing who the Wizard of Oz really is. For the longest time, the deep state was this fictitious, mysterious, faceless, whatever. We knew there was a deep state. We just didn't know who they were. Well, we're on the verge right now of finding out who they are. And that's what they're really worried about. The deep state is really, really worried about that. I wanted to, is there anything else? There was something else I wanted to play for you here in my, J.D. Vance was in the same meeting yesterday, the cabinet, and he took the media to task, and I thought, boy, this is different. If you watch Caroline Leavitt in her press conferences, she doesn't take any prisoners from the media. And this is a young woman, by the way. She's experienced beyond her age. She is fearless in front of this press, and she lets them know exactly how she feels and how they should act. But J.D. Vance did the same thing in the cabinet meeting yesterday. Listen.
I mean, look, as the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen in the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief as the president of the United States.
This is a guy who's very articulate, and he's the guy who brought Europe to its knees about a week and a half ago at a speech. He just didn't pull any punches, and he let the world know exactly what he thought of how they were acting and what they were doing to that great continent with all these independent, separate countries. And he let them know what we're doing and where we're going. And it was like either get on board or get out of our way,
I got to ask you something. During the Ronald Reagan years, and he was a good public speaker, and he wore, a certain type of clothing to, from his suit to the color of his shirt and the color of his tie were all a signal. I say that because you see all these people that Trump is appointing, and you've seen them before and you see them now, and they're very, very, laser pointed in their press meetings and whatnot. I'm wondering if when these people come on board, if there is some schooling that goes, okay, you're going to go to our public relations school, and this is what you're going to have to do, and this is going to have how you bullet point it, you take control, and, because they have a certain, like a guided missile when they go in, and you look at our press secretary now, she has bullet points. She has exact information, whereas Corrine,
Jean-Pierre,
she sat there. She would sit there, and there was never any bullet points. Well, I've informed you about that. Yes, we've taken that information into mind, and we're doing something. There was never, ever any substance to anything or any real control.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, and I think that I don't know whether they are technically going to a PR kind of a schooling, but I do think that most of the people that he's hired are people he's known for years. The Howard Lutnicks,
and they know how to present themselves and say what they want.
So he knows what they are and how they think and how they act. And then he's known, like Pete Hegseth, he's known. Marco Rubio, he's known for years.
Marco's doing a great job.
Oh, my God, yeah. J.D. Vance, I think if he vetted anybody, he may have vetted J.D. Vance and was very pleased with his with what he found out. J.D. Vance doesn't take any guff from anybody. The guy is just amazing. So we have got, like you said, we've got a whole cadre of people who are laser focused on the same goals. What he's got, Bill, he's got a team. He's got a team. If you think of it as a football team, they're all on the same page. They all probably have a playbook. They probably have a playbook. Here's what we want you to do. Here's where we're going to go. And we want you to promote these things along the way.
You know, he's got a posse of straight shooters and sharpshooters. They don't miss.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and they shoot you straight. They
and
don't
it's
miss.
driving the left nuts because they don't. Not only that, but he's hitting them if it were a war and a battle, right? He's not just attacking and withdrawing and then planning and then attacking again. It's a constant attack. It's something every day that they have to deal with. Yeah, and it doesn't give. It keeps the press off their feet. It keeps them on their heels. They don't know how to deal with all of this information. Just when they think they got something figured out in a new story, something else comes along which dwarfs that, and they haven't got a time to destroy Trump. They try, and that's why their attacks seem so empty, because when they do throw something, it's never something with any substance because they haven't had time to think about it. You know?
Well, and you know, they throw distractions out there, and distractions can be planned chaos. Chaos can be an air disaster. You know, you keep seeing all these weird things going on, and you got to scratch your head going, wait a minute, come on. You know,
that's a good point. That's a very good point. You know, we talked about this. I don't know. Gosh, they talk about all these incursions they had yesterday or the day before yesterday.
Yes, yesterday too.
In Chicago, that near miss where the plane was coming in the Southwest, and he had to pull up at the last minute. Otherwise, he would have hit a private jet on the runway. Which, and by the way, I see where they're saying that they both may have had clearance. The jet may have had clearance, and the private jet may have had clearance.
Yeah.
So it may be a tower situation.
Well, yesterday, you know, you had Ronald Reagan International Airport again. Somebody taking off and having to divert because of Marine One. Now, wait a minute.
Wow.
There's communication there. Don't say there's not.
Well, you know. I think, but here's the other thing, by the way. Biden had more of this stuff happening during the same period of time as Trump. I think that Trump has had, in the 30s, like 32 of these so far, 33, and Biden had like 58 in the same period of time. Nobody talked about it when Biden was president. It wasn't an issue.
You know, there are people in positions that shouldn't be, and maybe because of their stance in life, we'll just put it that way. They're going, you know, maybe I don't see that over there, and I can wash it off to something else, because maybe they want to see mayhem happen too, so they can say, not my fault. It's Trump's fault.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, because the thing at Reagan Airport again, after what happened 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden it's Marine One, give me a frickin' break.
You know, the difference is in the first term of office, Trump really worked hard at bringing the country together and getting the other side to like him. He really did. He made a real effort to try to be president for everybody, even the people who didn't vote for him. But this time around, having had his head almost blown off in July, and having seen how the left has, in some cases, been disappointed that it didn't happen. He is a different man this time around. Now that he's in office, he keeps pointing to the fact that the majority of the people who voted want him to do this. He keeps saying that a lot. Every time he gets a chance, he'll say, well, you know, the majority in an overwhelming numbers, they voted to have me do what we're doing, and we're going to continue doing these things. It's almost like he's saying to the left, to heck with you. I don't care. You know, I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you talk bad about me. I don't care anymore. All I care about is the majority of the people in this country who think that we're doing the right thing, and we're going to continue doing it, much to your dismay. You're going to continue to hear the leftist lunatics in Congress. There's a guy out in California. What's his name? Gonzalez or something. Gonzalez. He just can't stand Trump. He looks like a guy who has an education. He wears a suit well. His hair's slicked back, and he looks very substantive. But boy, when he opens his mouth, you realize how dumb he really is. You know, what was it Mark Twain said? Mark Twain said, Better to keep your mouth shut and let people wonder how stupid you are than to open your mouth and prove how stupid you really are. It was something along those lines. And this guy, the left seems to do this all the time. Jasmine Crockett, another person, she's become the new AOC of the left. She's always in front of a camera now. Yesterday, the media asked her, "What do you, if you could say something to Elon Trump, if you could say something to Elon Trump?" Some people on the left would say that that's more of a Freudian slip than you can imagine. No, some people, she was asked, if you could say something to Elon Musk right now, what would you say? And her answer was, F off. Except she didn't say F. She actually filled in the blanks, And she said this in front of the media, the press, F off. And I thought, boy, that's a great way for an intellectual, a great way for a leader in our Congress to handle a question from the media, F off. But that's how they're thinking on the left right now. That's all they got. That's all they got. They got vulgarity and contempt for anything that's on the right. Even my friends who are on the left, I cut them slack because I have years of friendship. But the fact is, some of their rationale is just out the window. You think, man, you really swallowed that pill, lock, stock, and barrel. You took the whole thing. You believe this stuff. If you only, and I know these people, some people are very intelligent people. And you say, boy, if you only stop for a second and use that great mind you have and evaluate everything, don't let your emotions get in the way. Look at the whole story. Where are we going as a country? What is he really trying to do? Forget the cartoon image that they've created of the guy. Look at what he's really doing for our country. I say to my young friends out there who are listening to the program, this president is trying to keep you out of debt and your children out of debt. By cutting the national debt down, it's going to make your life in the long run much, much easier. If we go bankrupt as a country, I'll be long gone. I'll be toast. But you'll be around to live in it. And it will be a very unpleasant society to be around in. So put the nonsense aside for a second. As an adult, try to evaluate what this president is trying to do, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what he's doing. Don't listen to them, and don't listen to the media. Don't listen to the Rachel Maddows. Do not listen to the Joy Reids of the world. These people who truly are vile, because you think that they're intelligent because they've been given lots of money. They've been given a position of power and stature on the media. They've got a venue to talk on. By the way, Bill and I have a bigger audience globally than a lot of these people who are getting tens of millions of dollars. I know that's hard to believe, but do not swallow their nonsense. I could go on and on. I don't mean to. Go ahead, Bill.
I just saw something really disgusting, but actually, apparently, somebody got shown the door. A HUD cafeteria employee escorted out of the building. They made an AI video, which you can do. And, you look at the AI video, I'm going, the fingers don't look right and everything. It is obvious. But, it was long live the real king. And it had Elon Musk sitting there with his jeans on and Trump kissing his feet. I'm going like, this guy should have been shown more than the door. I don't care if you are barely getting by. You do something like that. You need to be behind bars.
Well,
and need you need to have your mental health
Bill,
out.
I was thinking yesterday, there was a time when if you had said to me, you won't be able to trust anything you hear or see anymore, I would have said, oh, that's ridiculous. Nothing's more honest than a picture or a video. Nothing's more honest than hearing somebody say something. But the fact of the matter is nowadays they can have a computer sound exactly like you. Exactly. They can have a computer imitate your face and your expressions. Have you seen these things online where they'll show a still like of a mummy? They'll show a still of the mummy, and then this is on Facebook, and all of a sudden the face will start to fill in the mummy. You start to see what this person looked like in life. And then the person will open their eyes and smile. And you think, oh, my God, that's amazing. They have such incredible computer technology nowadays, it's hard to fathom. You know, you cannot look at a video nowadays and say, oh, I saw so-and-so in a very compromising situation. You better question everything because it may not be true. You know, it may not be who you think it was in that video. And by the way, it's going to only get better because the process of making this stuff gets better on a daily basis. It used to take 10 years to get to certain stages. Now it takes like 10 minutes. Anyway, I should point out that I got a little choked up there. I need another sip of my Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee.
Right Side Coffee, yeah. That'll clear up your
throat.
Oh,
I feel so much better. Yeah.
From beginning. Look at it did from beginning to right now on the show for me. So it's good stuff.
And you know where they get it? You get it at Jim and Bill at rightsideshop.com. 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 That's our internet storefront. You'll see our cups and hats and all these other things. It's like a gift shop, but specifically, you'll see this fine coffee. It's only available there, but you should really try it. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's not going to break the bank, but it is going to make your life a little nicer every day when you wake up and have a nice, fresh, hot cup of that coffee. There's also a decaf version of it, so if you have to watch your blood pressure, something like that, we got you covered there, too. And we're the only coffee company in the world that use Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
They do such a great job, don't they?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I like them.
There are people right now in this world who are sweating bullets big time. You know, they probably didn't get any sleep last night because they're on that list.
They called the pilot up to their private jet and said, fire her up. Get her out of the bullpen. I'm coming to see you first thing in the morning.
Yeah, we're out of this town, man.
What's the flight plan? There's not going to be one.
I'll tell you when I'm on the plane. Yeah, exactly.
Make sure it's fueled up.
And other than that, Elon Musk continues. The Doge thing continues. There's going to be a big action tomorrow in Washington. By the way, we didn't mention this, but Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England, is in town today. And I'm sure they'll be talking about that Apple situation that we talked about, Bill.
Yeah, and when's Zelensky going to be here to
sign? Tomorrow. I was just going to say he'll be in town tomorrow. So, I guess they're going to sign that deal. The deal that Zelensky said he wouldn't sign, Trump said he will. Well, he'll be in town tomorrow.
Sorry, but that's a damn good deal. Not just for us, but for them, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great deal because we will have a major presence, not military presence, but a major business presence. And by the way, people say, well, who are going to be the peacekeepers? And Trump said Europe's going to be the peacekeepers. Europe, they got their armies. They get off their butt and make sure you get your peacekeepers in there and take care of. You have more to lose than we do. We have an ocean separating the Ukraine from us. They're your next door neighbor. Go ahead, Bill.
They can go in and clean up the blown up cities and rebuild and make them nice. I'm sorry that there were historical buildings gone. Maybe they can be, the White House burned down once and they rebuilt it.
Well, I mean, they had Notre Dame in France about 6 years ago. They thought it was going to be a loss, and they put a lot of time and investment in it. In 5 years, if Macron did anything right, it was that. He literally put a full court press in to rebuild, not just rebuild Notre Dame, but to do it in a way that honored what it was, What they did do, and people don't talk about it, he had a sprinkler system put in. And they had to put the sprinkler system in so you couldn't see it. It's because they don't want to take away from the aesthetic look of the church. But if there's another fire again, that one will be put out by the sprinkler system.
Well, that's what they need out in California, So they need to rebuild it. But, I think that, with the Olympics coming up, they want to make it the new modern city. And
Well, when you just had maybe the worst fire in California history, where tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate was destroyed, people were made homeless. Not just homeless, but they lost everything. Some of the richest people lost everything. They were living in shelters, like the person who didn't have everything. When you just had this like a month ago, you know that hard at work is your governor. Your governor's he's working, toiling every day, trying to rebuild. He's not, Bill?
No, he's trying to, he is working hard to rebuild his image and his future. Forget about the fact that his state burned down, his city burned down.
What's he doing?
He's doing what we're doing. He's doing a podcast.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast. And this is going to be anything but the ordinary politician podcast. I'm going to be talking to people directly that I disagree with, as well as people I look up to. But more important than anything else, I'll be talking directly with you, the listener. Real conversations. What's going on with the cost of eggs? What are the impacts, real impacts to you around tariffs?
I could go on and on. It's about 50 seconds, but I'm not going to give him any more of a plug than that. He is a shameless. This is a guy who you would think would be spending his time working to rebuild his state. He's a waste of space, California. When are you guys going to learn out there?
Well, let me explain something to you.
Go ahead.
If you're looking to him in the podcast for all the answers, look what just happened to you. And he had no answers.
Yeah.
Do you really think he has an answer for anything else?
Oh, my God. That's a very good point. Now, people say, podcast. Anybody can do a podcast. If you think you could do a podcast. But see, there's a difference between technically doing a podcast and finding an audience. And there's a massive difference. There are probably a million podcasts out there that we essentially compete against. But out of those people, God bless them, they may have a handful of listeners, if that.
As I explained to one person, they put out a thing on the internet and they're going, I've been doing this now for 6 months and I got 0. And I'm sitting there going, friend, let me tell you something. You are but a drop, one small drop of water in an ocean of water.
Yes.
That is the internet. Now, for Gavin, in his defense, there's people that still love him because, he was promoted to a point of prominence.
He has great hair, Bill. He has great hair.
Yeah, he's got great hair. And he's going to get an audience. What that audience is, I don't know. But, Rachel Maddow has an audience. But it's sinking. It's circling the drain. She's not in the top 5, not in the top 10. I think she's number 15 out of the top 15.
You know how much they pay her, Bill? About $20 million a year.
Yeah. And she did one show a week. Now it's 5 shows a week. And that didn't save them. She's still circling the drain and it's going,
listen, Gavin should be spending his time working diligently to rebuild that whole burned out section of his state. Instead, he's talking about a podcast. These guys are ridiculous.
He's moving on. No, he thinks he thinks the podcast is his stepping stone to get past California and put himself in line for 2028.
What you don't want that guy, Gavin Newsom, doing to the United States what he did to California.
Hey, he burned up California. Just think what he could do to our country.
He can burn up a whole section of our country.
I mean, he can wipe it out, and he'll take credit for any rebuild that was done there or it gets done there.
Yeah.
But he did not raise a finger. He went out there and stood with the president, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to prevent it. The mayor didn't do anything to prevent it. They were more worried about DEI, and now they're worried about covering their own ass and blaming it on somebody else.
Yeah,
don't let him get away with it.
We could go on and on. I do want to mention one more thing, though, before we wrap this up. I'm looking at the clock, and we're way over time here for our show. But I hear everyone talking about the cost of eggs, and they're actually trying to blame Trump for the cost of eggs problem. Mind you, all of the farms that were destroyed by mysterious fires, it all happened under the Biden regime. But they don't say that. It's like Trump's been in office a month, and his duty was to guard the chickens. Come on, folks, get it together.
And the last chicken ranch out there that was standing in New York, it was Hochul that ordered the chickens killed. So it all lays on a Democratic doorstep. And the bird flu virus. Okay, but you guys didn't do anything under your watch to take care or prevent any of this.
Do you know we worked out a deal, supposedly. Listen to this, folks, where we're going to be getting eggs from Turkey. Now, not for the animal turkey. Now, we're not getting turkey eggs. We're getting chicken eggs from the country, Turkey. I mean, talk about desperation. We're importing our eggs. And they say it takes 23 months for a young chick to become an egg-producing bird. So it's gonna be a while. We're not going to have your egg McMuffins are going to be just McMuffins, no egg.
Actually, McDonald's has got a run. They got eggs, and they've taken the egg McMuffin. This is not meant to be an ad for them. I love egg McMuffins, by the way, and I'm probably going to run by and buy me a bag full because they're selling them for $1 an egg McMuffin because they'll take the loss in the egg McMuffin because you're going to go in and buy some coffee. Probably going to buy. Well, I mean,
if you want to feed the family eggs for breakfast, go buy, a bunch of egg McMuffins. Even if you don't want the muffin part of it,
take it apart.
Yeah, take it apart, and you got the eggs. Hey, listen, that's about it, my friend. We have done it. Long show, but a lot of things to talk about today. And with two guys, we like to talk, so these things happen on occasion.
Yeah, we're going to send McDonald's a bill, by the way.
Yes, we should. With a little bit of luck, we'll do it again tomorrow and have a lot to talk about on our Friday program. So be sure to come back. Tell your friends about us because, word of mouth means everything. It's how we've become what we are today. We have not promoted this show essentially anywhere else. We don't have ads running. We don't have promotions on places like iHeartRadio or anything like that. We haven't got it because we haven't got the budget for it. It's been you people who have done it. Word of mouth has spread the word. You hear at the front of the show, we have on average about 4 million people a week tuning in around the world. And by the way, they're downloading the show in the Ukraine. Can you believe that?
Well, what you're saying is, Jim, is that we're contagious and we're viral.
We are contagious. Wow. We are viral, really. And there's no vaccine for us, Bill.
We are the disease.
Once you listen to our program, you got it.
We're the disease to the left.
Yes.
That's good.
Anyway, sir, if you would take us out of here, I'd appreciate it.
Happily so. Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.